first morning in a place I've never been to. And we flew in last night, grabbed our rental rig. Sun's just coming up. This is the first I've ever laid eyes on this country. And been doing a ton of scouting from the map. It's about all I can do. The interesting part is when you come to Arizona, you're going to have federal lands like Forest Service and BLM and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. You're going to have state lands that some are state trust lands, some are state park lands, some are game and fish lands. And you got to know the rules on every one of them. Because contrary to some people's ignorance, every one of them have different rules about everything. But we're here to enjoy all of them if we can. I know a lot of people get upset when they see cattle in this really dry country. When you see cattle, stop and look around because there's probably water nearby. And when there's only a water source every 4 to 5 miles, hunting around the one that is there, it might not be a bad idea where to start. Well, it was a fun morning hike to come out here. Saw 6 does off this way. I think Marcus said he saw 9 and then 2 more. A couple javelina. A lot of cattle. But I've just been sitting there looking at more waypoints for water. And we just got to go and cross off the water that is dry and keep the water that really has something, because I think that's going to bring the concentration to deer higher, and see how that goes. It's a fun part about coming to new places. A lot of experimenting, a lot of learning, and when it works out, it's pretty rewarding. All right, go find some water, go find some deer. First afternoon, gonna go try another spot. Do a lot of glassing. Got a lot of water spots marked all around here, so gain a little elevation. See what we can find. fun hunting here. You get to hunt so many different land types, from high elevation to low elevation, land ownership, from Forest Service to BLM, to state trust lands, to game and fish lands, state parks. And here Arizona's a little bit unique in that they are the only western state that hasn't sold off a significant chunk of the state lands that they got at statehood. Most every other state, their neighbor to the north, Nevada, sold 99% of the lands that they received at statehood. And if you understand how statehood works, there's an enabling act where these states, really the arid states, were given 1 out of every 9 square miles. And they were to use those to fund their school systems and higher education and stuff. Well, some states just went and sold it all. And now they're out of state land. Utah is kind of the king of selling state lands right now. They got state land auctions going on all the time. And each state, like these state trust lands that are way out there, they are managed in a different way than your federal lands. Like your federal lands are multiple use. The state lands have to make a profit. So we drive on our way up here, we drive through state lands in Arizona, and it says no target shooting. If you go to their website, it says no recreational shooting. So there's, I can't remember how many million acres. It's many, many millions of acres of state land Arizona has that are off limits to recreational shooting. Now, you go to other states, like Colorado, you can't hunt, shoot, camp, hike, anything without permission of the lessee of their state lands. New Mexico and Wyoming, you can't camp on them. So how are you going to go do backpack hunts in the backcountry of Wyoming or the Gila of New Mexico if you got to drive from town every day because you're not allowed to tow your travel trailer or set up your wall tent or your backpack tent? So right now there's this big push going on again. It happens like every 10 or 12 years. Utah has sued or filed a case with the U.S. Supreme Court asking the U.S. Supreme Court to hear their pleadings that this is unfair to them. Well, really what's happened is Utah has sold the best of their state lands and they want more inventory to sell. They say they want control of the federal lands. Well, since every state gets to do it differently, Americans are going to wake up to a huge surprise if by some way, shape, or form these federal lands get handed over back to these state land departments, because they are very, very restrictive compared to what the BLM and the Forest Service and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service allow. So if you want to have fewer places to shoot, to the tune of about 100 million acres fewer, maybe even 200 million acres fewer, and 100 million acres of fewer places to camp, and tens of millions of acres of fewer places to hunt, well, then you probably are in favor of transferring these lands back, transferring them to the states. It's a giveaway program, right? All Americans own them right now. The states say, just give them to us. And I get that everybody's frustrated with federal land management. I am. We all are, right? But the people who could fix that is Congress. And what's Congress doing about it? Nothing. So it isn't the idea that you give these state lands away, or give these federal lands away and give them to the states. It's that you manage them better, right? That's what everybody wants, is better management. So let's do that. It's going to be hard work, but this whole concept about transfer to the states, state transfer it's called, it's all about selling the public land. You know, a guy from Utah who was very involved in managing their state lands got a hold of me after Marcus and I did a Fresh Tracks Weekly episode, and he said, Randy, you are on target. That is what the goal is. I know, I worked in these agencies, and that is what the elected officials want to do. They want to get these federal lands, and they want to sell them. If you're like me, and this is where you hunt, fish, camp, hike, shoot, Yeah, that's not good for you, and it's not good for me. It's not good for America. So coming here to Arizona is a bit of a unique thing because they've retained most of their state lands, even though they restrict a lot of activities on them. You need a permit. You got to pay a fee. There's no recreational shooting, even if you pay the fee. So I'm always struck that anytime the federal government puts someplace off limits to shooting because people drag couches and refrigerators and washing machines out there and shoot up and make a mess, that everybody's up in arms. Hey, close that 60 acres. But we've got western states that if you add them all up, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, California, just those 4 states, you're talking about 130 million acres of federal land that would not be open to recreational shooting if this state transfer happened. And even if state transfer doesn't happen, we're still, among those 4 states, we're talking about millions and millions of acres that aren't open to recreational shooting. So I often wonder, where's all the, the big, arguments and fights, and why am I not getting email blasts about, hey, Arizona doesn't allow recreational shooting, Colorado doesn't allow recreational shooting, New Mexico doesn't allow recreational shooting. Don't ever hear anyone complaining about that. I wish they would, because I'd like to see these lands open to recreational shooting. But anyhow, I love Arizona. I hope they keep these state lands forever. I hope the federal lands stay federal forever. I hope the federal lands get managed better. And Congress could fix everything that we're frustrated about with federal land management. Every single thing could be fixed by Congress. But they don't want to do it because there's a lot of people in Congress who are on board with selling the public lands. And if we solve the frustrations of management, problems, litigation, well, then their goal of selling off these public lands would be much harder to obtain. So sitting here looking over all this amazing country just gets me thinking about that stuff. Also gets me thinking about maybe there's a big book out here somewhere.
There's a great big buck out there. I just haven't found him yet. But it's been a good first day. We saw quite a few deer. Marcus saw 2 bucks this evening. I was looking this way, he was looking out that way. I didn't see much of anything. I saw 1 doe. Either I'm blind, old, don't know what I'm looking for, or Marcus is just really good. I'll go with Marcus is really good. But just about time to pack it up. We got maybe 10 minutes of light left. And be out. I don't know. I'll look at the map tonight and I'll come up with another spot and see what we can find. I think, let's see, we had 17, 18, 23. How many deer did you see tonight, Marcus?
7.
7, 23, 30 deer today. That's pretty good for coming to a place you've never been before. So, anyhow, appreciate you tagging along. Stay tuned for tomorrow. It's about ready to get a little more exciting tomorrow. Promise you. I'm not that picky. I'm not like some of those Coues deer hunters where it's got to be borderline Iowa whitetail before they shoot it. Not me. I eat those suckers, man. They're as good eating as anything you're going to shoot out here. I want to go home with one.